Hey, what's up? It's Jason Kirk here for OddsChecker, here to pick some college football games for conference championship weekend. We went 4-1 last week. Not bad. Let's try and keep that going. Got 5 picks here this time around. First up, let's start at the top. That's all things do. Let's start with Rutgers. Yes, we're going to go with Rutgers. +7 at home against Nebraska. You can find a lot of computer power ratings, top ones that perform pretty well, that say the spread is a few points too big. The biggest factor here is likely that Rutgers could be without starting quarterback Noah Vedral. But a few things to keep in mind. Greg Schiano confirms that Vedral would very much like to play. Motivation is high. Nebraska is his former team after all, so we'll see if he can go. If not, backup Arthur Sitkowski is likely somewhat comparable based on what we've seen. He played well last week, and the passing game isn't really the make or break for Rutgers anyway. Basically, for me, this is a bet that Nebraska probably should not be a full touchdown favorite on the road against any reasonably competent team. And while Rutgers is not great, they are no longer terrible. They are 6-2 against the spread this year. That's one trend. Here's another. Scott Frost is 5-11 against the spread as a favorite during his time at Nebraska. And it gets worse. He is 10th worst in the country at winning outright as a favorite. To this point, it has been a coin flip on whether a favored Nebraska will even win. So Rutgers keeping it close. That sounds pretty reasonable to me. Let's stay in the Big Ten. Let's go all the way to the top. Northwestern +21 against Ohio State. It's a big number, but it's a key number. That's nice. Both teams like to run, likely burning clock, possibly keeping the score somewhat artificially low. Ohio State, not exactly a high-tempo offense most of the time. Northwestern has been a steady team against the spread forever. They're number 1 in the Power 5 against the spread from 2015 through 2020. Which largely goes up to the way they play football. Very low risk, low reward on offense, very good defense, steady, boring, dependable. So the Northwestern just stay in the game. Ohio State probably knows they don't exactly need to blow out Northwestern. They already have the number 4 spot in the playoff. So let's keep it within 20 or so and everybody go home. Next up, Army +3 against Air Force. Same logic as Army-Navy last week. Flex bone option underdogs tend to do well, and it's hard to have a blowout in a game between two slow-paced option teams due to how much time they chew up. Air Force actually runs even more frequently than Navy does. Plus, this game is at Army, so that in favor as well. Several power ratings actually favor Army outright, so consider the money line perhaps. And Air Force blowing out Navy back in week 1 might really not be good precedent to consider, might not really be all that useful data because remember, Navy had barely practiced to that point. So I don't know if it's all that fair of a comparison for how the game against Army might go. Next up, Notre Dame. At this point, getting 10.5 against Clemson. I am confident Clemson's going to win, get the revenge game, but it's the friendly side of a key number at a neutral site. In a game where both teams likely know they've already clinched a playoff spot. Sure, there's something to play for. Notre Dame, obviously, you'd love to have your first conference title ever in your first time out. But, yeah, just Clemson get the win. See you in the championship. Maybe we say that. Trevor Lawrence was out the first time around. That's the biggest factor here. But Clemson threw all over Notre Dame anyway. 10 yards per throw with no interceptions was arguably their best passing game all year, especially considering the quality of the opponent. So, Trevor coming back, I think what you're hoping for is that he replicates that performance. The biggest thing to watch, I think, is the running game, where Clemson couldn't get it going at all. And maybe you attribute that somewhat, in some way, to the roster situation the first time around. But Notre Dame ran pretty well, especially, if you include that 65-yard broken play at the beginning of the game. But yeah, Clemson's got to get it going on the ground. If they do, this could be well over 10-point spread. But as it is, all right, let's say 40-30, something like that. And finally, Alabama, early in the week, was only a 14-point favorite over Florida. Okay, we can see why that number went up. It's Alabama. It's the best offense in the country facing Todd Grantham, who has lived up to his third and Grantham nickname on the year. Florida's passing defense has not been great on third down, and, well, look who they have to face now. Florida should score some. It's a quality offense, but I believe Bama's going to score a lot. The line's up to about 17.5, which might be pushing it because Florida losing to LSU was, of course, a big, weird fluke. probably possibly the biggest fluke of the whole season, but the result is the result. And however, I mean, if you're able to get it early in the week, got it around 2 touchdowns, I'd feel pretty good because, again, it's Alabama. Those are my 5 picks for the week. Good luck to you, and we'll see you next time.